Morning, everybody. 8:12 a.m. It is May 14th. Markets made all-time highs again yesterday and in the overnight. Currently, though, the Nasdaq is relatively weaker than the ES. ES is gapping up. Nasdaq is not. Cisco had good earnings. Nvidia looks like President Trump approved 10 H200 chip sales to 10 different companies or something like that in China. That's pushing Nvidia up. Even though Nvidia is up like that, semis is actually down slightly. AMD, Qualcomm are down this morning. Broadcom, well, it's not down too much, but AMD's down 1.30%. And that's what's going on. Yesterday we had the hot PPI. You got an initial pullback by that, and it was bought right up, and the market just ripped higher. Now, yesterday was definitely an anomaly. The way the market internals were, they were not strong. Tech and semis were weak. And then the market just pulled back and then just like really didn't get strong till a little later. And then the market internals obviously showed the strength. So this market's relentless right now. The momentum is really strong. Really strong. It's hard to fight it. And we still have Nvidia earnings next week. I keep saying this. I think that's going to be after those earnings are done. Maybe a market starts to act normal. We have to see. All right, you just have to see. So markets give you little pullbacks, but then they get bought. All right, that's basically what we've been trained to think now. Nothing can take this market down, really. Every dip is a buying opportunity until that changes, right? And crude is back under $100 a barrel. It's literally at $99.73. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. Use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the markets. Long supply and demand, gamma exposed levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. It's how I come up with game plans. Now I use the market internals. Once that market opens, show me strength, what's going on under the hood, along with the gamma exposure, the flip points in particular, I give away for free on my Discord, as long with the weekly expected move indicator, I give away for free as well on my Discord. Okay, little anchor VWAPs in there, and some ICT smart money concepts thrown in there. But basically my own proprietary system of how I like to trade, hence Confluence Trading. Okay, now I do this every morning. Hopefully you can join me. Subscribe to that alert. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and the laggards, technical analysis, and I always give you the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures at the end of my stream. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. It's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you aiming for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, let's get right into the futures watch list here. All right, you can see the Dow is leading today. All right, Boeing is up, JP Morgan's up, Caterpillar's up, Salesforce. All right, I think the largest holding is Goldman Sachs currently in the Dow. Then the Dow actually is a price weighted index. It's not a market cap weighted. So 30-year bonds are being bought. 10 years lower. They're up 0.5%. ES is up 0.34. It's gapping up. Nasdaq's up 0.28. Russell's up 0.26. Gold flat. Dollar flat. VIX flat. Ethereum down 0.15. Bitcoin can't get over that 80 grand and hold it. Down 0.36. 10-year yields down 0.67. Crude down 1.5%. Silver's down 2%. Okay, moving on. X7 Plus here. Nvidia, I talked about that. It was those H200 chips. All right. Jump in China, up 2.15%. Boeing up 1.29. Tesla's up 1.15. Tesla had a nice day yesterday. All right. Really, yesterday was all about Google, Tesla, Nvidia. Okay. Who else here? Now, your lagger today is AMD. AMD is down 1.39%. Why is there a little? That's weird because they reported earnings already. Earnings conference call on 6/2. Really? All right. Moving on. Top sectors here. Leading off the pack, Salesforce. That's software. So that little sector, IGV, software sector, I see ServiceNow's up as well. Microsoft's up. Okay. Not up huge. Caterpillar 0.65. Home Depot has been destroyed. They're reporting earnings soon. They are up 0.5%. McDonald's is up 0.5%. That's going to move the discretionary sector. Okay. That's your Tesla, Amazon, Home Depot. McDonald's is in that as well. Goldman Sachs is up. There you go. Up 0.5%. Oracle up 0.34. The laggard today is Qualcomm. Let's drill down a little bit more granular here. Cisco. Remember Cisco I just talked about, almost up 15%. Yeti up almost 7%. Take Two up 5.5%. ASTS up 4.8%. Marvel Assemi up 3.12%. Illumina up 2.41%. Dell up 2.27%. Let's look at the laggards here. Intel. So there's some of your semi weaknesses, down 3.5%. ARM Semi down 2.8%. Alibaba down 2.7%. Oklo Nuclear down 2.5%. Not much there on the downside. Okay, moving on to sectors here. Your leader is financials. That's your JP Morgan, your Goldman Sachs. They've been actually not getting the most love lately. Okay. Technologies up 0.44. Remember, that's your largest market cap weighted sector. Then your discretionary up 0.38. Communications up. Everything's up. The only little laggard is energy, which is not even lagging, and it doesn't move markets anyway. Okay, those are your sectors. Let's move on to the economic calendar here. So today we have retail sales, jobless claims, which haven't meant much at all. Retail sales, 10 a.m. business inventories. That doesn't really move markets that much anyway. Just keep it on your radar. Then you have a bunch of Fed speak. I actually heard about rate hikes possibly yesterday. Market had a little reaction to it, but didn't really care. So a slew of Fed speakers today. Okay. And basically the news today, and we don't have to go here. Financial juice. Now again, the rally in technology shares showed little sign of slowing as strong results from Cisco and continued momentum in Nvidia reinforce optimism surrounding artificial intelligence. Okay. Trump's schedule. He's in China, so let's just see. There's nothing in here that I could see unless he speaks. We went over that. Here's some news. Xi tells Trump that mishandling of Taiwan could spark conflict. Here's the news for NVIDIA. U.S. clears H200 chip sales to 10 China firms as NVIDIA CEO looks for breakthrough. Cisco jumps on strong revenue forecast. AI push with job cuts. U.S. Senate committee to weigh crypto bill in milestone for digital assets. Republican-led Senate Banking Committee is set to consider long-awaited legislation that would create regulations for cryptocurrencies, a landmark step for the bill, which has been bogged down by a dispute between crypto companies and banks. So let's just read this. Futures tracking the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq rose to record highs as Nvidia shares jump while investors watch developments around the high-stakes U.S.-China summit. Markets await key economic data from U.S., including April retail sales and weekly jobless claims figures, comments from Federal Reserve's officials Jeffrey Schmidt, Michelle Bowman, Beth Hammack, John Williams, and Michelle Barr are also on the radar. All right, we talked about Cisco already. We talked about NVIDIA. All right, I think we're done there. We could look at go over just our breadth of the market. Let's see what happened yesterday. Let's see how that changed yesterday. Percentage of stocks over the 20-day simple moving average got worse yesterday, 41%. Let's go to the slow moving average, the 50. Got worse yesterday, 45%. So yesterday, remember I said The market was weird yesterday. Okay? We'll get into the internals anomalies in a sec. Okay? But I'm just showing you percentage of stocks in the under the 20 and 50 got worse yesterday. All right? What a narrow breath move in this market. All right, now look at the bullish percent index of the S&P 500. Remember, it's based on point and figure, which does not use time, but it's a great show. Look at that. We went up yesterday, set all-time highs, and the bullish percent index decreased with 51% of stocks on buy signals. See what I'm saying? Now look at the NDX. Let's see what that did. That also got a little worse. 52%. This is all backing why I said yesterday was an anomaly. Look what I just showed you. Percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average got worse. Above the 20-day moving average got worse. The bullish percent index and the NDX and SPX got worse. But yet we made all-time highs. Okay? Let's drill down a little farther. Now remember, technology yesterday was not strong. Got worse. Slightly worse. Look at that. We were up here in the 80s, 82s. Now we're back to 66. Right? All right, let's look at financials. Got worse. 56% on buy signals. Now remember, this does not take into account market cap weight. Okay? I know what moved the market yesterday. Okay? So let's go to financials, right? Communications moved yesterday. Now market cap weight did, even though it got worse. See, look what I'm showing you. Everything got worse yesterday. Okay, worse again, but market moves on market cap weight. Google, Alphabet, whatever you want to talk about it, it's two stocks. It's Goog and Goog L. But combined, I think they're 6% of the SPY or something like that. Okay. Communications and discretionary had a good day. Now, again, discretionary, this is not market cap weighted. Look at that. Woof. Now, everything I'm showing you got worse. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Now, healthcare had a good day as well. Eli Lilly is actually above its expected move for the week. That got better yesterday. Remember I was saying that healthcare was hurting? Money starting to flow into healthcare. Okay? So far, healthcare is the one that got better as far as equal weighted in the sectors. Now let's look at industrials. Got worse. This is why what I'm saying is yesterday, as far as ticks, we're negative. Literally, early in the morning, we're staying negative, even as the market pushed higher. That was telling me pretty much all the stocks in both exchanges were ticking lower. This is just confirming what I was seeing yesterday. Okay? The only thing we saw positive so far has been healthcare. Okay? Trying to see who else had a big day yesterday. Staples. Let's just look at Staples and we'll move on. I just wanted to show you guys this. Okay? Staples pretty much flat. All right? This is where there's a disconnect, right? There's a clear disconnect in this market. Because I know my community, when I was live, I was like, okay, we can go on to internals now. This is weird Okay, I want to show you. Here's the market internals. Now, early on in the day, tech and semis were weak. This is market cap weight, these bars. That takes into account all the weightings in the sectors. Okay? Now notice, tech was not off the open, okay? This is off the open. Tech never got positive yesterday, either did financials, but communications with Google was a monster. Google opened at like 385 and went all the way up to 403. Remember I said Google, Alphabet is two stocks, Goog and Google. Okay? Goog and Google. And then you have consumer discretionary. Tesla had a very nice day yesterday. Now, market cap weight. Amazon also. Okay? Eli Lilly, the largest holding in healthcare, had a great day. Okay? Now, look at these numbers here. This just goes about what I'm talking about. If you look at the exchange level, this is the NYSE. Advancing minus decliners was minus. See how that backs up what I was showing you guys. It was negative from the prior day's close. Look at our market, and this tells you that advancers minus decliners was a negative 641 from the prior day's close. The Nasdaq exchange was a minus 190. Again, right? S&P 500 from the prior day's close, 500 stocks, advancers minus decliners, was a negative 150. Nasdaq 100, which is your QQQ, was a negative 11. This backs up what I was just saying. But remember, look at this market cap. Up until this point, nothing was strong. This is not strong reading. And then it started to trend higher. That's when you started to get more love. Okay? So I'm not saying this is not strong, but that's why this is so important. The market cap weight bars is because this tells me, regardless of what these exchange levels are telling me, I know the market could go higher. That's why this is very key. Now the ticks, let's look at the ticks. Okay? If I go back, let me see if I can go back here. I want to show you earlier on in the day what I'm seeing. Look at this. Look at those ticks. This is in the morning. This is what I'm watching. I'm like, man, these ticks are weak. Weak, 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 weak. And then finally at where? Around noon, they started to light up. So insane. Okay? This is where I'm seeing. I was like, this is when ticks hold like that, you generally don't rip up. Now look at the Nasdaq exchange. Look at this. This is the open. Red, 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 right? Red, 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 all the way up to where? Till about noon. Now you notice the ticks change. And still not great, but they never got red, red, red like that. It's just not normal. This is not normal. Okay, it's abnormal behavior. Even though my scenarios played out. Even though my scenarios played out. Give me one sec here. I want to show you. Give me one sec. It's just that right here I want to show you. So there's a 5-minute chart right on the ES. And if you can look at my scenarios, what I said, okay, in my Discord, my pre-market scenarios. It stinks, okay, because right here, I'm going to show you what I said. Here's the short number 2. 74.20 demand taken out, break the 74.10s, retest 74.20, and reject short 74.20 target yesterday's lows. Right? Well, what happened? We opened up, broke the 74.20 demand. Okay, and then we pulled back to where? The 74.20s, right there. And then we went down, right to the midpoint of yesterday. We took out the overnight lows. We didn't go to the prior day's lows. That worked out, right? Now, if we go back to my scenarios, to the long, number one, drop to 74.10s. Get bought up, push up, retest 74.20s, and this is what I said. If tech and semis are firing long 74.20, targeting 74.54s. I didn't have semis firing and tech firing. They were weak. This is what I'm saying. Otherwise, I would have been long all day. Look what happened. Market rebounded, right? And I said a push above and a retest of 74.20s. This box here is the most traded price of the week, right? I said the retest here, and look what happened. All it did is pushed off the 74.20s. You ranged right above the previous day's highs, and then that's at around 12 o'clock. Remember, I showed you in the ticks? That's where the market caught a really big bid. So frustrating to say the least. Okay, because internally the market was telling me it's not strong. Okay, you can see the bulk of the volume wasn't even here. Look how thin that volume is until up here. Okay. Now, let's go into daily charts here. All right, so daily charts. Those internals very rarely fail me. Okay, very, very rare. It's an anomaly, that's what I'm saying. Look at this RSI, just overheated, right? Now, again, that doesn't mean you're short. Look what we did. Right here, what did we do? Pull back into the midpoint of the prior day session, and look, boom, broke the previous week's highs, made new all-time highs. Where are we now? 745. Gapping up. We're above this now. Market's nuts. Okay? Market is totally nuts. And look, we haven't tested the 9 EMA daily since here, April 7th. And that wasn't even tested from a pullback. It was just time. You didn't, nothing retested. That is not normal. Okay? That is not normal to just not test that. So, okay, so ES, futures. Let's look at the futures. Look, holding above the previous day's highs. That's bullish. Bullish. Okay, nothing else you could say about it. Bullish. All right, Qs. Now Qs pull back and broke the previous week's highs. Made new all-time highs. QQQ. Where are we now? 716. You're at yesterday's highs. You're not gapping up, but you're at yesterday's highs. Still bullish. Now also, if you look here, April 7th is the last time the Qs hit the 9 EMA daily, and that was based on time. Okay? It's nuts. Really nuts. Now, futures. Now you're getting a little weakness, relative weakness in the futures. See this little kind of like doji candle? Okay. So we took out this high. Well, let's see what happens. Now also yesterday, I'll get into it in a little bit. So pretty nuts. All right, this is just a crazy market. And we're all going to get caught off guard one day when the thing falls apart. And I'm not talking about a crash. I'm talking about we're all going to be like, oh, we got to buy. You got to buy. You got to buy. You got to buy. And all of a sudden, we're going to be like, ooh, boy, this is nasty. Well, it will happen. It might have to happen. Remember, May is generally a sell in May and go away. But I've seen this before where like, wow, you're supposed to sell off in May a little bit. And then it happens like the last day of May or something. It's crazy. Okay? All right, let's move on. Move on. To 1 hour charts. Alrighty, let's talk about it. Here's your 1 hours. Now, yesterday, what did I say? Acceptance over 74.20 is bullish. Well, it broke it, came down right to this bullish for value gap, got bought up, right? And you closed below the 74.20s, but then the next candle closed above it. Another candle closure, there you go. And then boop, 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 up to all-time highs. Okay? Now, these bullish for value gaps represent poor structure. So notice the stacking of the bullish for value gaps. You got them here and here. What that means is if the market does get some nasty news, you clean this up, you can clean that up. We'd already done this over here. Okay? This was not a clean move, and eventually, boop, cleaned up. And then you came down and cleaned that sell-off down, right? Market does this constantly. Really does it constantly. Okay? Now, your mini bull bear line in the sand is your 74.70s. That's your most traded price of yesterday. It happens to line up with the overnight lows and the close. So that is going to be a very, very key level to pay attention to, because below that is poor structure. Now, if that holds, it's bullish. Because cuts both ways. Cuts both ways. Now, we are in all-time high territory in overnight trading session. Generally, overnight trading is not where an all-time high sits as at overnight trading. It usually is regular trading hours. All right? And then we're just grinding. That's a lot of trading here. So if I was to put a volume profile just on this move, okay, the bulk of the volume, of course, is here at the 74.70s. And look at the volume. Not as much, right? Not as much. Then you have that little low volume node, which is why I said right here is a pivot point around the 74.70s, right? You can't lose that. Purple. All right. Yeah. All right, so this is why this bulk of volume here lines up with your overnight lows and the close from yesterday. That's why I'm saying this is very important to protect it. Underneath it, like I said, if it gets support in here, that's a long. But if the market starts to dump, you can clear all this out down to 7,400. So let's put that on watch. Okay? That's just showing you based on the volume. Okay? Moving on. And now we're clearly, let's just put this on there too. Clearly on a little uptrend here. Right there. So there's your trend. Right? You even have a little channel coming here. Okay? That's what the market's been really holding. Now, if you want to get a little more accurate with that, you could do that. Look at that. It's hitting this trend channel. But let's just do it by this right now. Okay? That's what we've been doing. Let's see if that channel goes back. Not really. Kind of almost does. Okay? That's an ascending wedge. And I don't put too much into it, but they do get honored a lot. They really do. Okay? All right. So, with that being said, let's go to the NASDAQ. Okay, now look at the NASDAQ. It's relatively weaker this morning, right? Semis are down slightly. Slightly. Okay. We are in a demand right now. We are not gapping up. We're inside yesterday's range. You do have overhead supply. You really don't have overhead supply in the ES. So this, look at the last 4 hours. Not exactly the most bullish. But yesterday, what did I say? Right? Let me get my marker out. Oh, I didn't even have my marker out. Okay. I said yesterday, the 293, 294 area needed to find acceptance below or above to be bullish. You needed to find acceptance above the 294s, right? And of course, what did the market do? It sold off from there into that bullish FEG, ripped up. What did it do? Found acceptance above the 294s and gave it room to go higher. And now we're accepting price above it, so that is bullish. Okay, that is bullish. Now, if we're going to look at volume, again, this is the most traded price of yesterday, right there. That price is 29480. Okay, that also aligns with the overnight lows, okay, of the NASDAQ. So this is the important level to be on lookout for. Now look, this is last week's highs, right? Any break under this can give the market an opportunity to go lower. Now you do have demand here. You don't have a ton of imbalance here, all right? But any move under the 294s has to be looked at a short-term bear. Anything above, holding above, is bullish. Okay, let's throw profile on it. Okay, just from yesterday's move. There's your most traded price right there, about 29538. Remember, there's the one that's from yesterday. Obviously, another high volume node. Okay, look at that low volume node at the 294. Right, 294 is showing a low volume node here, but if I back that out, you're going to see a ton of volume there. Okay, so let's back that out to here. Right, ton of volume here, ton of volume here. Okay, but we're just concentrating on this move, right? And you're having where the market is right now, a lot of volume. Look at this volume here. You break that 294. Remember, look at the volume here. So it's not thin volume here. That's what I was just saying. It might not have the easiest ride down. Okay? And if we're going to look at a trend, there's your trend. Let's see here. What do you have going here? So a little more compression, okay, in the NASDAQ. It's compressing more than the ES is. Okay, who knows what happens? Okay, nobody knows. But that's your hourly charts in your NASDAQ. Okay, now we're going to move on to the market profile and volume profile now. Um, Here we are. And this is your market profile, volume profile. Clearly you can see in the ES we are gapping up. All right, remember the light shaded area is the overnight activity. The darker shaded area is your regular trading hours, 9:30 to 4:15 p.m. And what a level you have. Okay, this is where I love looking at the markets like this because I can see the separation from the overnight activity and the real regular trading hours. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so let's get into these scenarios of the ES long and short trades scenarios. Okay, big time level here, 74.70s. That is your level, folks. Overnight lows, yesterday's close, most traded price of yesterday, and a demand. Throw on your 100% net long in the overnights. Okay? Now you have a lot of trading activity here. Now, early volume could maybe crush that. When you get later into the day, that is not going to be easy to just slice through it unless early volume or a news catalyst comes out. Okay? Now, very important here. We're gapping up. So, what is the gap fill? 74.83, yesterday's highs. We are all-time high territory in the overnight session. Usually not a secure. Usually you make regular trading hours all-time highs. Okay, so right here, if we stay up here, most likely that's going to get taken out. Now, below the 74.70s, you have a bullish fair value gap. Now remember, these cut both ways. In a very weak market, that gets blown away. You have single prints right here as well. That also shows emotional buying. So that also shows the imbalance, right? See the pocket of volume here? You can just see it here. There's not a lot of volume there. Hence, the market can rip through it until you then get a bulk of volume again. See? 50% retracement of yesterday, 74.41s. Now, this market could very well rip up again today. Maybe Trump says something else in China. I don't know. Now, let's get into it. We're going to start off with who's in control, and that's the bulls. Okay? So, long number one. If we get the pullback, right, into this demand, okay, into the 74.70. Now, it could be beautiful, and you, boom, bounce. You get that higher low, and you're off to the overnight highs, targeting 74.99. 1 point above that is 7,500, a psychological number. 7,500 in the ES, okay? And then maybe you ride off into the sunset, all-time highs. Now, be very careful with the next long. If the next long breaks the 74.70s, okay, and let's say internally we're not that weak, and you quickly go into this bullish fair value gap. Now remember, in a long scenario, if you get support in an area that should not be that supportive, it's bullish. Okay, if you want to, and what I would wait for is probably to get back into the overnight range, retest the 74.70s, go long, targeting 7,500s. Okay, now in this area, multiple pullbacks can be bought as long as you get buying in here. I'm not going to go over each one. So that bullish fair value gap, okay, that spans from 74.65 to 74.47. Any support in there, and you want it to be quick. It usually is not something where it stays in there, okay? It's probably a buyable pullback. Now, what I want to say with that quick pullback is you don't want to see too much weakness internally, right? I want to see something that, oh man, we're not even that weak, okay, and carry the momentum through, okay? Now, what can always happen as well, right? You could get a gap and go. So you could get, boom, you hit 7,500, let's say, and then the market just sits and accepts. Then you got to find some pullback to buy. That's always the option, right? That's not my favorite, but let's say if the market internals start to get very strong, you just have to look for some type of pullback to buy. All right, now, shorts, okay? These are not easy in this market. They're quick, okay? Now, we are 100% net long in the overnights. That's a check for a fade. Now, I like to be at the top of the session for that, so we're coming back in a little bit. So, what's viable? Well, you open up, make new all-time highs, right? Come through the open, make a lower high. You target the 74.70. That's the most logical point, okay? There's a lot of confluence there. Remember, most traded price of yesterday, the close from yesterday, overnight lows, okay? If you break that, right, you have the imbalance, the low volume. If the market starts to get tech and semis, get outflows of money, which we don't know yet, this is going to get cleaned up pretty nicely. And you're going to just cut through this like a hot knife through butter. Then you're going to probably test the 74.41s, the 50% retracement of yesterday's range. Okay? And this could just continue. 74.20s and finally go down to 7400. There's more weak structure here. It can get super ugly, possibly going down to the month-to-date anchored VWAP 73.58. Now, I'm not calling for it. The structure is there. Remember I said the structure is there. You have a lot of poor structure underneath us, holding us up. Now, conservatively, okay, you're going to want to take this demand zone out right here. And you're going to want to find acceptance below the 74.70s. Okay, maybe a half-hour close, hourly close, and then retest the 74.70s. That's your short. And you try to ride that all the way down to the 7400s. Okay? Because I think in this area, below the 74.70s, in that bullish for value gap, is going to be a little battle somewhat, unless tech just, everything is red. And you're like, oh, this might be it. Now, again, I don't know, right? Just scenarios. Moving on to the NASDAQ. Look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is already at overnight lows right now. It also was 100% net long at one point, gapping up. Where are we now? At the point where I said the market could rip lower, right? The 29480s. That's the most traded price of yesterday. Lining up with the overnight lows. Okay? Just want you to understand the volume here. All right, so let's get into the scenarios here. Let's break out the session. Got a very balanced session in the overnight. Okay? And understand why volume matters. Okay? Because if this is the most traded price, the 29480s of yesterday, we can assume most of that volume is longs. That's the behavior, right? We can assume those are longs. You can just see the market profile. There's a lot of time spent there. That is actually the POC as well. That's a market profile term, is the point of control, which means the most time spent was at that level as well. Okay? So time and volume were spent there. And we know the majority of that volume is long. So if you break that, right? and then you have your most traded price of the week, the 294s, and you clear that, that, my friends, is not a good sign. And you could fall. Okay, so that's why the volume matters, right? Because you know this is people's behavior. It's the most traded price of yesterday. It's the POC, the most time spent yesterday. It's a very pivotal level. It's the bull bear line. Okay? We're not gapping up. It's also the close, right? Is right next to here. We are in demand. Okay? Now this could definitely hold. I'm not saying I'm bearish. I'm just pointing out that make sure you understand that 29480s and then the 294s. Okay? You do have overhead supply here. These markets are tricky. Let's get into it. All right, we're going to start with longs. And what is the long going to consist of? All right, we are in demand. We are at that area that was the most traded price of yesterday, right? So what am I going to look for? Any support in this area from the 24980s to the 294s. Okay? If we hold anywhere in here, whoop, and let's say you come back, retest the 29480s, that's a long target, 2963s, that's the overnight highs, all-time highs, and go off into Never Never Land. Okay? Remember, bullish for value gap, 294s. If it holds, you have to be bullish. Okay? That's really right here. Now, your midpoint of yesterday is 29320. That's your 50% retracement of yesterday's range. Also lines up with the 24-hour most traded price of the week. Remember, the 293 to 294 is a high volume area. And right now, the market's holding above it. That's bullish structure. So I don't want to get it twisted here that I'm telling you this is bearish. Right now, it's bullish until otherwise. That's all I care about right there in your NASDAQ. That's it. That's all I care about. Okay? Now, bear scenario. We do have overhead supply here. Okay? So, if we do get bought here, right, and we start moving up, I'd probably be very cautious up here to go short right away. I'd probably most likely to want to see that overnight high taken out, and then you sweep, go back inside, make a lower high. There's your short. Target the 24980s. Okay? Now, hold on to see if you get 294s with a runner. This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay? Under this level, 294s, okay, and then under 293s, you are going to take a ride. And you're probably going to reach to do yesterday's lows, 29075s. Okay? Now, there's a lot of volume here. There's a demand zone here. So I'm not saying that it'll be easy, but if the market does pull back. Now, look, we're breaking that, almost breaking that level right now. So, if you want conservative, okay, and I'm not going to say this is going to be easy. You're going to want the market to break below the 294s and to retest the 294s. Okay, now I know the 293s are still here. And I don't think it will be easy. Retest that 294s. You short there, and then you target yesterday's lows. Okay? None of this is easy. Okay? I like the short better than in the ES. I like it better in the ES. Even though Nasdaq's relatively weaker this morning. That's it, folks. Now let me give you my market outlook. Okay? So ES is relatively stronger. But the key level today is 74.70. Acceptance below it is bearish. Accepted above it is bullish. That's all I'm going to leave you with. Okay, NASDAQ. The level to watch, 29480s. We're there right now. And really in the NASDAQ, you have a lot of trading volume at the 29480s down to the 293s. So there's a lot of volume there, and I feel like we could chop around. Okay, but if you find acceptance below the 293s, right, you're probably hitting yesterday's lows. Above The 29480s, the 294s is bullish. Just remember that. Okay? That's the analysis for today. Smash the like button if you enjoyed that. That would be a lot to me. Okay? Now, hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Give you the market story, the economic calendar. All right, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq futures. If you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right. Now, everybody, we got our plan. I really like the ES. Okay. Really like ES where you could get long and where you can get short. Pretty clear. Obviously, price action is never very, very clear in like the 1 minute, the 5. It's sometimes it can get crazy. Okay. So remember, no trade's a trade. Hope everybody has a great day today. All right. If I don't see you in my Discord, I will see you tomorrow morning. Take it easy, everybody.